Hi NCC, happy Saturday and happy new year. We are so excited about what God is going to do in 2021. We want to let you know that we will not be gathering in the house tomorrow, but we will have a live stream available at 10 a.m. so that we hope to see you there so that we can worship together, hear from God together, pray together as we step from what was into what will be. You know, a friend of mine used to say, every new year that as you stand with your heels on the past and your toes on the edge of the future. I was thinking about that this weekend as I was praying for you and for our church, and I was reminded of the people of God in Deuteronomy where they were in a similar situation. They were standing with their heels on the edge of what they were, what they had known, and their toes on the edge of what lay before them. And as they stood there at the edge of the Jordan River, ready to go in and take the promised land, there was a very specific direction that God gave them. He told them in Deuteronomy, through Moses, he told them, remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble you and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. 40 years, y'all. 40 years of following God through the wilderness. It's just been 1 year, and we've been in a difficult season, but just 1 year. And as they stood before what lay ahead of them, God wanted them to recall, to bring to mind, to remember his faithfulness over the past 40 years. And y'all, if I try to think about 40 years of my life, a lot of it is a blur. There is a lot of in and out, everyday, mundane life that goes on, raising kids and going to work and making a home. And some of it just kind of like becomes a blur. The things that stick out are the moments of crisis, the moments of great joy, the birth of my kids, the moments when we've had great difficulties, when God has shown up and shown himself faithful. In those moments, we realize that we are desperately in need of him. The truth is we need him desperately all the time, but we're not always that aware of it. And in 2020, we've become desperately aware of our need for him. And so as we stand on the edge of 2021, I want to ask you to follow the direction that God gave the people of Israel before they crossed the Jordan. Remember. Pause and remember what God has done. Now, it's very easy for us to remember the things we've lost, the things we have suffered. But it's important for us to remember the faithfulness of God, because truth is, y'all, we stood in 2019 and we sang in the presence of God, you can have it all, God. Take my life as a living sacrifice. And the way we are, the minute things become hard, it starts to feel like a sacrifice. The minute things are actually taken from us, we begin to feel isolated and lost and alone and feel self-pity. And we lose focus on the promises we made to God. So I'm not asking you to reflect on 2020 and look at whether you were faithful, because we weren't. We have the best of intentions and God sees our hearts, but he's not looking at our performance. He is faithful. He's not looking at our faithfulness. So I don't want you to think about your faithfulness. I want you to reflect on the faithfulness of God, the way he led you through the wilderness these last 12 months. What was God's provision? How did he show up in your life? I want you to pause right now, and I'd like to encourage you to make a list of those things. Go ahead and pause the video. Now, I hope that you took a minute to do that. And if you didn't, it's okay. Sometime this weekend, take some time and reflect, remember what God has done for you in 2020. We've all said that this is one for the books. This is a year no one will ever forget. We'll be talking about this for decades. My question for you is, what are you going to write in the book? It's one for the books. What are you going to write? Are you going to write of the things you lost, or of the way you suffered, the things you sacrificed? Are you going to write of the faithfulness of God? We have a roof over our head. We have food on our table. You have a computer in your hand that you're watching this on. Let's remember the faithfulness of God. Let's reflect on that, and let's carry that in our hearts as we step into 2021. Because the truth is, there will be new battles to face in 2021. The children of Israel had battles to fight as they stepped across that river. We will have new battles in 2021, but God is faithful. He is in the future. He is waiting for us. Coronavirus is not a hindrance to him at all. And none of this surprised him. None of this caught him off guard. He is ever present, ever faithful. And I ask you to write down the faithfulness of God, to remember how God has brought you through the wilderness of 2020. Be encouraged.